It's back, baby! Baby! Is that foul? If you partake in Nuzlocke challenges for the sole purpose of making the game more difficult, you're doing it wrong. For those of you who don't know what a Nuzlocke is, it is a challenge, set of self-imposed rules for the Pokémon games that people use, where if your Pokémon faints, it is considered dead and it's gone forever. Now, people can obviously add more rules to this, like, oh, you must nickname your Pokemon for, you know, getting better personal attachment to them. You can't use items in battle, etc., etc., and there's a lot of different variations people can use. But the most interesting aspect of the Nuzlocke challenge, at least to me, is the narrative potential of the Nuzlocke, because when you add in such a hefty weight, such a real, like a threatening stipulation like that, like if your Pokemon faints, they're dead, you lose them forever, then there's a lot of narrative potential you can get out of that. I know one of my favorite examples of an ongoing narrative in a Nuzlocke was from Marriland's Pokemon Heart Gold Wedlock. And of course, all the challenges I'm going to be talking about in this video, there will be spoilers, so if you're at all interested in watching those, then I will have links in the description, I guess, just go and check them out. But in Marriland's Pokemon Heart Gold Wedlock, he caught this Rattata in the very beginning of the game, named Carrot. And then he went on for, like, the rest of the game. It's like, oh, this is just a Rattata. It's not gonna do anything. It's just Rattata. It's like one of the weakest Pokemon in the game. This is gonna die. This is gonna be, like, cannon fodder first thing. It's gonna die first. It'll be done. Oh, I didn't even describe what a Wedlock was. Ugh. But yeah, the Wedlock is a variation of the Nuzlocke that Marriland created. As far as I'm aware, he created it. Where, you know, the Pokemon, you have 3 pairs on teams, so you can have 6. You can have 6 on a team. So you have 3 pairs of 2. So then the story goes along, the team's building up, they're getting stronger. They go on and they defeat everything in, like, Johto. They defeat all the Johto Elite Four, and so it's all good. But because it's Generation 2, because it's Heart Gold, then you go in and you play the Kanto, or you go to the Kanto region. So before that, he had to do this thing with, like, the what are they called? Like the Kimono Sisters, I forget what they're called. But it's like the challenge leading up to Ho-Oh. You have to battle this group of, you know, people who are like guardians of the thing. Anyways, he goes in and he has to fight them, but because it's a Wedlock challenge, you're limited to, like, whatever pair. You have a single pair you can use for the battle. So you can only switch between those 2 Pokemon. That's what makes the Wedlock more challenging than a Nuzlocke, because you can only use 2 Pokemon in a single battle, unless they die. Then you will switch over and use the other ones. You have to use a different pair, but you're restricted to that pair. So it goes along, and he's got to fight, because they're one battle after another, and you get forced into it. So he's forced to use this one pair against all these different trainers, and they've got all, like, the evolutions. So there's, like, Jolteon, Vaporeon, Flareon, so you can't really prepare for a specific type. So basically, he goes in and gets slaughtered. The surviving pair was Peach and Carrot. So then they go along, keep going, and then, you know, for basically the majority of the series, Carrot and Peach are the two mainstays. They're you form the strongest bond with them, and it's especially gratifying because you think this is just a Rattata. Nobody would have expected it. He could have just been fodder, but no, he becomes like the ace of the team. Carrot and Peach carry the team, and then they go on for the majority of the game, and then in the very last episode, like when he has to fight Blue, the 8th gym leader in the Kanto region, Carrot and Peach, they die. And it's so crushing, because, like, they spent the whole game, these 2 were, like, the ace of the team. They were the originals. Like, they stuck it out for the majority of the game. And then in the very last episode, they go down. So, like, you create this hero in Carrot, this Rattata became Eradicate. It's like, you never would have expected it. This underdog story, and then at the very end, they die. And it's like, I shed tears. This series came out in, like, 2012, 2013, so it was a while ago. But it was like, it was just a Pokemon game, but, like, I was feeling real emotions because these, like, I got attached to these characters. It was great. If you want to see a great example of the, like, narrative potential of a Nuzlocke, check out, there's a video on YouTube, it's like taking out the trash, or titled something like that. I will put a link on screen or something. And it's about his story with this Trubbish, and like, because he made, well, just go watch the video, you see it. It's just great to see, like, a joke. It was a running joke in the series, but then he eventually has to catch a Trubbish, and it's just great to see how that played out. It's just like a, what'd you call it, like irony? It was great. It's just, go watch that video to see it. Another great thing about Marriland's Nuzlockes is that he will integrate fan art from the people who watch his videos. People will make different art about the different characters in the Nuzlocke, and then when he does like his death montages or whatever, he'll showcase fan art. Or at the end of the series, he usually has a montage looking back at the challenge, and he will go through all this fan art. And it's just great because it helps bring the characters to life. It gives the series like something extra. It adds more weight to the series because you're seeing these characters depicted in these different different scenarios and like by different people. So it's just really cool to see. And of course, on the topic of art, I can't forget that Marriland also he will draw like his own portraits for whatever the remaining 6 members are whenever he goes into the Elite Four. So that's really cool to see as well. It's just an extra personal touch to his Nuzlocke videos that just make him great. Marriland was one of my favorite YouTubers because of this, just because he had that personal touch to his videos. And a few years ago, when I really was heavily into his content, he was like the main guy I would watch, just because like his Nuzlocke videos were so entertaining from like a narrative perspective, but also just all the little flashy like edits and little personal touches he would add to the video. It was just made it a very pleasurable experience to watch. But if I want to talk about narratives in a Nuzlocke, I'd be remiss if I did not mention TeamFourStar. Their Leaf Green and Soul Silver Nuzlockes it was tremendous. You want to talk about like layered narratives in a Nuzlocke, because that's the thing really with Nuzlockes, is that you can get a variety of different things involved. Like you can have sort of like a meta aspect to it. Like with TeamFourStar, there's kind of like 3 different narratives going on at once. You have the journey of the 3 players playing the game. So like they'll do their commentary on top of the game. They're not always like focused on the story itself. They're just kind of talking about whatever. So you've kind of got a narrative between the players there, the 3 people playing it, Grant, Lanny, and Kieran. Then you've obviously got the journey of the player character, because those players. It's really interesting to see sort of the bland kind of Pokemon protagonists go through like character arcs, because throughout the series, like the people playing the game will kind of give them this personality. Like for example, in the TeamFourStar Nuzlockes, you have the difference between Lekeeger and Tantor. They're really sort of juxtaposing characters, because Lekeeger starts out and he's like an optimistic kid, and he goes in to then face Brock. He's starting to build up his team, and he just gets basically slaughtered. He has like, I think 1 or 2 Pokemon survive, but there's like, his dreams are crushed. Like he's this optimistic kid, and then Brock crushes him, traumatizes him, and then over the course of the series, he just kind of becomes this monster where like he has to catch strong Pokemon and train them to be strong. He only really cares about like the stats. He only really cares about what is the best Pokemon, what is the best team to guarantee success. That's Lekeeger. Lekeeger becomes this cold-hearted machine, and that is reflected in the attitude of the players playing it through Lanny, Kieran, and Grant. So of course Lekeeger goes on in the Leaf Green Nuzlocke. He beats the game, defeats the Elite Four and whatnot. Then you get this cool twist afterwards, where to set up the sequel, the game like resets on them, and like Lekeeger goes rogue, and so then Lanny, Grant, and Kieran, they have to form start the new save file in Soul Silver to like go up to Mount Silver and challenge Lekeeger to like, in a way, like get their team back, like, or take down Lekeeger, because he's become this monster that they created. So of course it's up to them to stop Lekeeger and take down his team. So this is where Tantor comes in. And Tantor kind of has the inverse character arc of Lekeeger. He starts off just wanting strong Pokemon, just wanting to put together the strongest team, have the highest numbers, the highest stats, anything to take down Lekeeger. But then over the course of the series, he switches into what Lekeeger was at the very beginning, where he starts to grow attached to his team. And this is most appropriately reflected in the journey of Ivan Ooze, who unfortunately tragically died on his birthday. That was the traumatic incident for Tantor. Just like Brock turned Lakiger into this heartless monster, the death of Ivan Ooze, Tantor's own son, that changed him. He went from just wanting strong Pokemon, wanting the highest numbers, to slowly but surely growing more attached to the team that he had left. And so he came to sort of overcome the shortcomings of Lakiger within himself, within his own character arc, and that's why he was able to, when he went on to fight Lakiger at the end of the game, that's why he was able to win, because he was able to develop those strong bonds with his Pokemon. He was able to overcome his own shortcomings, overcome the shortcomings of Lakiger, and he became the ultimate character. He was the culmination of both characters' journeys, of both playthroughs. So you've got that journey, the way that Lakiger and Tantor play off of each other. You've got the players playing the game, they've got their own narrative. But then you can add an extra layer on top of that through the fan fiction. Because one of my favorite aspects of the Pokemon Soul Silver Nuzlocke was the Ivan Ooze diary entries by Pyro Dragon. Now this was just some YouTube commenter who was watching the series, and there were a couple people who did this. There was one for Mr. Steak, their Meganium, Chikorita, whatever, their starter Pokemon in Soul Silver. But you'd have these people make these diary entries over the course of the series. So like after each episode, this person would take the role of this character. Pyro Dragon would be Ivan Ooze. And so he would like give this character extra depth and extra personality. So of course, not only was Ivan Ooze Tantor's son, but now you have Pyro Dragon writing these diary entries and sort of recontextualizing the events of each episode through Ivan Ooze's eyes. And so it gave Ivan Ooze like an extra sense of life. He felt like a more empathetic character, I guess. And so then when he died, it was the most tragic thing ever, having to go down to the comment section and having to read Pyro Dragon's final entry for the living Ivan Ooze, just like getting to the point where then he dies, and it's tragic. And I shed tears again. I cried a lot of things in media, but like the diary entries really brought Ivan Ooze to life. And so then when he died, it's like, oh, he's not just a dead Pokemon, but like he's also like there's extra life that was sucked away through these diary entries. It was pretty cool. Not the death part, that was tragic, but like just being able to make this sort of a story, craft this story, this narrative, these characters, like it's like a TV show or something. And that's what I think makes the Nuzlocke, like the potential that you could have with Nuzlockes. I think that's what makes them so entertaining, because anybody can play a Pokemon game and anybody can play a Nuzlocke challenge, but it takes something really special to turn that challenge into a story, to craft not just a story, but to craft a compelling story out of that as well, to make characters that kind of stick in people's minds, make just an overall journey, because, you know, you watch YouTube content to be entertained, you watch YouTube content just because, like, maybe there's nothing else you're doing at the moment, and so it's just kind of to kill time, to relax, to just do something. And I don't think a lot of Nuzlockes have this sort of, like, you sort of inherently have a story with it, because with death being on the table, of course you would have like some sort of weight to that. But I think it's more interesting when people actively embrace that and try to, like, go out of their way to accentuate the narrative potential that exists within Nuzlockes. And that's why I find them so interesting. There aren't many that I've really gotten into that I think have really captured the same sort of like story significance as Marriland and TeamFourStar did. Even then, like the later TeamFourStar Nuzlockes that came afterwards, they weren't attached to the main story, and so I wasn't quite as interested in it. Not to say that TFS is not like an entertaining crew. I could still watch their stuff anyway, because, I don't know, they're a good group of guys. But, I don't know, like, just having that narrative through line, it's just really cool. And especially with, like, TeamFourStar, how they were able to connect two different Nuzlockes together and make one cohesive story, one cohesive narrative. That was really cool. And that's why that Nuzlocke series and most of Marriland's earlier work resonates with me still to this day so strongly, even though I don't really follow their content as much anymore. But I will still, you know, I can still think back and like, oh yeah, Carrot from that Heart Gold wedlock. He was a character. You know, his Marriland's Garbodor, that was great. That was a great story. It was amazing how that all worked out. And you know, Ivan Ooze, the birthday boy, it was just, it was good times. Except for the part where they all died. So thank you for joining me for day 2.
Hey, so day 1 of this challenge thing is finally up on YouTube. Apologies for the lighting, you can tell when I don't run this thing, which is where I get all the light that washes out my face. So this is gonna be all, just look at all the specs. But I actually got an endorsement from the best guy ever himself. What does he say we should call this? Miss Migwava. Miss Migwava. So, yeah, marching straight into my grave with videos. So, it's from it. I've been endorsed by the best guy ever himself. So I guess that's what I gotta run with. But
yeah, we're continuing on with the daily videos, challenges, and I don't know why I'm punching the air, but I am. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Hopefully not all my videos are going to be this long this month, because otherwise I'm gonna have my work cut out for me. But I'm a rambler, so I apologize. What is your favorite Nuzlocke series on YouTube? You let me know down in the comments. What else could you add to my little thought bubble that I have created here? Let me know. Give me a bunch of feedback down in the comments. What do you think of Nuzlockes of Pokemon games? Because Pokemon games are just fun in general, and I think the Nuzlocke challenges are a big reason as to why I still enjoy them so much to this day. But thank you for joining me, and I will catch you next time. If you partake in Nuzlocke challenges for the sole oh, it's still sitting back here. I forgot to take it out of the shot. I don't know what I'm doing.